There are lots of buttercups around the ponds in summer, and amongst them I often find little animals like this, a tiny baby frog. It's very slippery, and there's a dark smudge on each side of its face which helps to camouflage its shining little eyes. There's a pattern on its back which makes it hard to see when it's on the muddy ground. And perhaps you can work out why it's pale underneath. Only some of the baby frogs live to grow into full-sized adults like this one in the pond. As I walk round the ponds, I disturb many other little animals. These are baby toads, darker and drier, less slippery than the frogs. Like the frogs, only some of these will survive and grow up. Frogs and toads start life in the ponds as tadpoles, as you know, and in summer there are thousands of them amongst the pondweeds. There has to be a large number of tadpoles because very few of them will last long enough to turn even into very baby toads and frogs. Let's have a closer look at one. This one's already grown its 4 legs, but it hasn't yet lost its tail. They feed on plants and on meat. They sometimes eat each other, in fact. Webbed feet for swimming. And the tadpole uses the oxygen dissolved in the water. Like nearly all animals, it must have oxygen to live. I sometimes find a different kind of tadpole in the ponds. It looks the same on my hand. But look at it in the water. It's a newt tadpole, and it will eventually turn into a newt. Those feathery things on each side of its head are its gills for extracting oxygen from the water. Frog and toad tadpoles don't have gills outside like that. In a few weeks' time it will lose those gills and turn into a tiny newt. It looks like some kind of dragon, doesn't it? But like all the other tadpoles, it's got plenty of enemies in the pond. Like the water scorpions. And the nymphs of dragonflies. But I've caught an even deadlier enemy. It's this, called the water tiger. This is one of the fiercest animals I know, although it can't harm us. It's actually a baby beetle, a beetle larva. One day it will turn into a big water beetle. It's really only at home in the water, where it swims quite well. It looks a ferocious insect, and as we shall see, it certainly is one. This is how it gets its oxygen, not from the water, but from the air above the pond. It takes in air through the end of its abdomen, and it has to come to the surface every so often to do this. At the end of its abdomen there are 2 feathery-looking things which act as floats, helping the water tiger to keep the tip of its abdomen just sticking up through the top of the water. You can see them as it swims down again. Up for more air. And here's the tail end again. In the pond, the water tiger feeds and grows, and it spends a lot of time hunting for its next meal. Like many water insects, it has hairs on its legs to help it swim better. And it has this big flat head with a ring of tiny eyes at each side and these terrible jaws, shaped like a pair of sickles. Any time now it's going to attack. It quickly sees anything moving in the water. Now watch. It first of all grabbed the tadpole by the tail, and now it's tossed it and got it by its body. Those sharp fangs are deep into the tadpole's body, and the water tiger's now feeding. The fangs are hollow, and it injects a liquid into its victims, which starts to digest them inside their own bodies. Then the water tiger sucks out its nourishment. It's rather like the way spiders feed, although of course the water tiger's an insect, not a spider. After a little while, there'll be nothing much left of the tadpole but its tail and an empty skin. I'll put the one I caught back in the pond. It's already fully grown, and soon it will creep out into the mud at the side of the pond, then turn into a pupa, from which the grown-up water beetle, called the great diving beetle, will later emerge. I hoped I'd be able to catch a great diving beetle to show you, the beetle that the water tiger turns into, but I had no luck, although I know there must be some in the pond. But I did manage to catch some of its relatives, smaller water beetles of the same family. Here's one. The great diving beetle looks like this, only it's rather bigger. Let's watch it in a little tank of pond water. It has a streamlined shape so that it glides easily through the water. It uses its back legs to swim with. Can you see that bubble stuck to its rear end? We'll come to that in a moment. It's part of a bubble of air which many kinds of water beetle trap under their wing cases, the two hard covers which beetles carry on their backs, hiding the pair of wings underneath. The beetle gets its oxygen supply from that bubble. See the hairs on its swimming legs? There are the wing cases. And you can see its two quite long antennae or feelers, and the four stumpy little bits below its head are used for tasting and sampling things. Now it's going up top to get a fresh air supply. Here's another smaller beetle, a different kind, but still one of the family of diving beetles we've been looking at. It gets its air supply in the same way. Watch it wriggle the tip of its abdomen to get the air bubble nicely spread out across its back under its wing cases. Here's another kind of water beetle. This one's got lovely coloured streaks along each side. They're all very active little animals. They're meat eaters, which means that they have to hunt for their food. They bite and chew their prey. They don't suck their prey as the water tigers do. And the more they move around, the more oxygen they need. This small beetle must have tasted food in the water from where a water tiger's caught a tadpole. He tries to join in the feast and bite off bits of the tadpole for himself. Now are water scorpions hoping to join in. But the water tiger's too much for it. As usual, I put everything back in the pond. All the exciting creatures we've been looking at, and many others besides, live under the water in the pond. If you take some pond water that doesn't seem to have anything living in it at all, then look at it closely, you'll get a big surprise. Let me show you. There are really thousands of tiny living things in the water. These are very tiny little plants that live in the pond. They provide food for tiny little animals that also live there, although you can't see them without a magnifying lens of some kind. This little animal is called a cyclops. It has only one eye. These are daphnia. Some people call them water fleas. Here's a water mite. And some just newly hatched nymphs that will feed off the little creatures and grow much bigger. The tiny pond animals are food for many of the bigger things. This bloodworm, which is the larva of a midge, feeds off the remains of tiny animals and plants, but it can get eaten itself by other creatures in the pond. Baby fish start by eating the tiniest things in the pond. Then, if they survive, go on to bigger prey. The water beetles are always looking for meat, while the snails quietly eat the water weeds. The whole pond's full of life, one kind of creature preying on another, but with enough of everything to make sure that some survive to go on producing young and keep the pond alive. Leeches will attack and eat fish. Water scorpions will tackle all sorts of other insects and water animals. And the larva of the great diving beetle, the tiger of the pond, will hunt and kill almost anything that comes near it. But we, people, are the only animals who hunt and sometimes kill for fun. We must stop destroying things. All the creatures that live in the pond have as much right to live on this planet Earth as we have. It's up to us, it's up to you, to look after the places where the wild things live. Don't poison them with rubbish. Don't let other people spoil them for you. Find out about the living things around you. There are lots of exciting things to look for. But one day, there may not be. The rain may one day fall onto dead ponds. It's up to people like you to make sure that that never happens.
Turn it over again. Right, turn it over.
What time is George?
Get out of there. What? Come on, Jane, you'll kick it.
Afternoon, Derek, young man. Eileen!
Yes, George.
Thank you, my love. You know the rules of this club. You know you can come here any time except when you should be in school, and not from the cellar, and not with this.
I told you it ain't mine. I just got a message for Eileen from my mum.
Sniffing glue destroys the brain. It makes you stupid. You've been sniffing glue. I'm not a fool.
Oh, no. What's up now, Derek?
Someone's got a message for Eileen.
It can wait.
Derek,
What?
come on. I could kill you. When are you going to grow up? You stupid. Get in.
Sugar? I don't care.
Don't start with me.
Well, you didn't have to do that.
Do what?
Show me up like that, in front of them.
Sorry, Derek. Well, you showed yourself up, and you showed me up, and I'm sick of it. Sticking your head in a plastic bag. I told you I'd tell Mum next time.
If you ever see her again.
How is she anyway?
What? Oh, I don't know. She's always sick. Sometimes she stays in bed all day, and Dad comes home and they're up all night, arguing.
So looks after little Jamie. You, eh? Like I did.
She misses you, Mum. So does Jamie.
No, you've always been the one for Jamie. That's your problem. But I always stayed around for you. Derek? Well, what's this message then?
Then it's a quid.
What for?
It ran out of Mum's purse this morning. So,
you can always stay with us, you know.
We got a routine. You want to see it?
nah.
Lend us 50p, Derry.
I can't. Owe it him.
He won't, and he won't be back while Thursday. I'll do the same for you. Come on, mate.
Oh, you know what it is.
Before it goes, come on.
Oi, give us some of that then.
Yeah. Come on, girl, mate. Yeah, invite you.
Morning, come on.
Derek? Derek Barnes, here. Here. Why weren't you in school today?
I was, miss. I was late.
You weren't in English this afternoon. You are on report, remember?
My mum was ill.
Right, 10 to 9 tomorrow with a letter. Preferably written by someone who can spell your mother's name. Look, if you're not there, it's another visit from the Educational Welfare Officer. And you know what that means this time. Night, Barry.
Miss.
I told you no.
I'm going to tell your dad when he comes in, he's going to give you a right belting. Now sit down and keep out of my way.
Derek! Hello, mate. How's school then? I didn't go. I'm narrating.
Oh, thank God. Where have you been?
I kept us late at school. In practice, I think.
Oh, could have done with you here. You've been driving me round the twist with his earache. Don't give him sweets before tea.
I don't want tea.
Shut up. Every time I turn my back, he's into something. He's mixed the sugar with the soap powder. Give him a wipe. He nearly killed himself on the iron. Oh, it's the last time I'm taking your sheets to the wash.
Well, I didn't wear 'em.
Well, don't let him in your bed then. You're 7 years old.
It's you and Dad moaning all the time anyway.
Don't be so bloody cheeky. Anyway, your dad's gone for a job.
What's the job?
Down the foundry. Called him in special.
Oh, Mum, that's great. Fantastic. So are you all dolled up then?
Why? Well, a mess.
No, you look fine.
Oh. Here. Thank you. What?
Do you hear that? Your Dad's getting a job. A job with money.
And good money too. Oh, love. If you could just pay some of those bills, it'd be a miracle. No more getting up each morning like you're going to face your executioner. No more him stuck all day in front of the telly like a bear with a sore head. No more fighting over money. We might even have a holiday.
Yeah! We could go to Scotland. To Uncle Charlie's wedding.
Why not?
Do you hear that? We're going to Scotland.
Listen, dear sis. We shall be delighted to attend our Charlie's wedding. Please do not bother putting us up on your floor. We should be arriving by hired car and staying at the Royal Hotel. Oh my God. Potatoes.
Oh, Mum.
Do you know, Dave, it's weird. It's only when you see the light you realise how dark it's been. I don't think I could have stood much more. I think one night I'd have just taken those pills and finished it.
Mum?
Oh, I'm sorry, love. Sorry. Listen, why don't you go and do some of your art with that table, eh? I want everything perfect. Use some of the paper serviettes from Christmas.
All right. What's for tea anyway?
Well, it's a sort of casserole Italiana.
Oh, a casserole.
Yeah, you know, sort of stew with one of them packets in. Highly recommended by the butcher. Do you know it gave me tick for the first time today? That's what a job is.
the sun-drenched tropical paradise of Isle Delfino. We're so pleased to welcome you to our beautiful home. Come enjoy a natural wonderland to which we've added the world's finest resort facilities, a spectacular amusement park, and succulent seafood. All this and more await you on Isle Delfino. Come relax and let us refresh your body and spirit.
What happened? What's this icky paint-like goop? It's moving!
No, no, boys! Don't touch that stuff!
Excuse me,
I am most concerned with the well-being of the princess in this dreadful heat. Master Mario, if you would, cross over to that shore and find some assistance.
Power-up complete. Thank you for purchasing this item from Gad Science Incorporated. Preparing to register customer information. Scanning and classifying subject data. Subject identified as Mario, resident of the Mushroom Kingdom. Data storage complete. I am Flood, a flash liquidizer ultra-dowsing device. I hope to be of assistance. Proceeding with user instruction. Use the R button to shoot water from my tank. If you press the R button all the way down, you can stop and shoot. You can then use the control stick to aim in any direction. Press the X button to switch to the hover nozzle. You can then press the R button to hover in the air for a short time. If this tank is empty, no water can be sprayed. To refill tank, enter a body of water and press the R button. Instructions complete. Proceed.
Nice work, Mario.
Quite an unusual device. Is it some sort of pump?
I am Flood. Glad to meet you.
Hey, someone's coming.
Court is now in session.
As you are no doubt aware, someone has been senselessly defacing fair Isle Delfino using some paint-like substance. The accused is charged with polluting our beautiful home, and yes, endangering our very way of life. Indeed, how can one not be aware of what is going on? Though it is daytime in Delfino Plaza, our poor residents tremble beneath a veil of darkness. Expert shine scholars have determined that this darkness has arisen because all of our guardians, the shine sprites, have vanished from their gathering spot at the shine gate. The reason? It's quite obvious. This horrible graffiti is to blame. Behold this sketch of the perpetrator based on eyewitness descriptions. The truth is obvious. The guilty party sits among us. It is none other than Mario.
Objection!
Overruled. I judge the defendant guilty as charged. I hereby order the defendant to clean this entire island. Until Isle Delfino is completely free of his vile handiwork, Mario shall not be allowed to leave. Court adjourned.
This appears to be quite a predicament, Mario. Data analysis verifies that the island's inhabitants are indeed troubled by pollution, but the pollution itself is not the main problem. Mario, you witnessed this object at the airstrip, correct? It is a shine sprite. Shine sprites are the source of power on Isle Delfino. They used to gather in great numbers at the Shine Gate, but the graffiti incident has polluted the island and most of the Shine Sprites have fled. There is no longer any power to support the peaceful lifestyle of the islanders. It is most pitiable. The only way to ensure the return of the Shine Sprites is to keep the island from becoming any dirtier. The perpetrator is likely at work even as we speak. And you, Mario, are being treated as a criminal. Tomorrow we must do our best to resolve this situation.
Go straight to the point. You can't miss the mess now. Your first job's to get rid of all that ugliness. And remember, we'll be watching you, pal. We'll know if you start slacking off.
Look! On the statue's head!
Mario? The villain's secret hideout must be there. Did the perpetrator get away?
Leave my mama alone, you bad man. I won't let you take Mama Peach away.
Mama? Mama Peach? I'm your mama?
Yeah, Papa told me all about it. He told me my mama got kidnapped by a bad man named Mario.
So you're Bowser's son?
So I came here to rescue her.
So the graffiti, that was you?
This is my magic brush. When I draw with this, all my wishes come true. A strange old man in a white coat gave it to me. A strange old man in a white coat?
But why would you pretend to be Mario?
Papa told me everything. He said, Mario's the
bully. He never fights fair.
He said,
Junior, you gotta try to outsmart Mario.
so I tried to get Mario sent to prison. But they didn't lock him up, and now he came to steal Mama Peach again. You pesky, stop following us.
No, not again. It appears to be heading toward Corona Mountain.
The water's great, hey, Junior?
Sure is, Papa. Come on in, Mama Peach.
I think not.
You again? Don't you ever give up?
Mario! How dare you disturb my family vacation?
Mario, was I,
Mario, look.
Junior, I've got something difficult to tell you about Princess Peach.
I know she's not really my mama. Someday, when I'm bigger, I wanna fight that Mario again.
That's right, boy. Well put, son. The Royal Koopa line is as strong as ever. But for now, let's just rest a while.
the vacation starts now?
So I would like to introduce my new course called Learn C# and Unity. So the reason that I'm creating this course is because that I don't feel like there's a lot of good courses out there for learning C# before you actually start programming games in Unity. So the reason that I would like to teach you C# before you start learning Unity is because that if you start with Unity and you don't know how to program already, then you will pick up a lot of bad habits that are not very good when you need to create other things with C# than just games in Unity. So basically I would like to teach you how everything works in C# before we start learning how to create games in Unity. And I'm going to do this by teaching you how to use console applications first. And the reason that we're using console applications is because they are a very great learning tool, and that you will get to know all the basics before we move on to very advanced things. When we're done with the console applications, we will start working in Windows Forms. And in Windows Forms, we will also create some games that has the same structure as Unity before we start using Unity as a game engine to create the games. So the reason that we also learn how to do everything in Windows Forms before we move on to Unity is because we will like to learn what's actually happening behind the scenes so that we have a better understanding of what is going on when we play around inside Unity. So in Windows Forms, we will create some games with animations and sprites. And of course, it will only be 2D games, but it will have everything that you can also do in Unity. For example, animations, jumping on platforms, or whatever we are going to create. I'm not sure what kind of 2D games we will make yet, but it will be a full game that works with a menu and an end and some goals and everything. So one thing that you need to know is the fact that Windows Forms are not meant to be used for games like that. So the games are not going to be very optimized, which means that you will not have 100 FPS when running them, and you will be able to see the more objects you add to the scene, to the game, the slower the game will run. So why would I like to teach you how to do this? Well, the reason is that when you work in Windows Forms and create a game from scratch where you create your own game loop and all these